All right, welcome everybody to an amazing interview. We're going to talk about a topic that we all know really well. I'm here with my business partners, Jake Kinder and Albie Stasic. How you fellas doing?
What's up? What's up?
Doing great, Mike.
So, how many agents do each of you think you've talked to since you've made the move over to EXP?
Well, so the first year I looked at my my schedule once calendar link, and it was 999 calls that I had scheduled, not counting how many other ones I didn't have scheduled. So if it was, maybe 3,000, 4,000 for sure, somewhere in there. Probably 4,000. That'd be my guess.
And now, how about you? 4,001?
No, I think he's inching past me by a little bit. If I were to take a wild guess, I know our calendars and how they look, and his is always filled. You actually used the word doubly one time.
Doubly.
Yeah, so I would say probably at least 2,000, 2,500 conversations.
So we are probably experts on the topic on why agents don't join EXP. And, if you look out there online, there's so many reasons why you should join. And I think what we should talk about is all of the reasons we see agents not join and just kind of weigh in on some of the different perspectives and the things that we share with them, because a lot of people are out there, they're trying to do their own research. And to be honest with you, I feel some of the people, I'm sad that I didn't get them in early. I actually feel an obligation because after seeing so many of the people that have been blessed by the EXP cloud-based business model, I feel like let's help them do their homework. So Jay, I'm going to let you start this off. What do you feel like is the number one reason that you see when you speak to those agents? What's the number one most common reason agents don't join?
Let me give you the number one reason, but it's not the people that I talk to. The number one reason is they haven't done their research. That's the number one reason. Because if they had done their research, then they would definitely have joined, right? Or if the smart ones would, anyway. But the number one that I talk to,
I'm going to go with that haven't done the research. So what's that look like? I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, it means they don't understand. They don't know what they don't know, or they've been given misinformation or bad information. That's the number one reason, right? And they just never do their own investigative work to see why are so many people. We're at now almost 6,000 agents that have partnered with us at EXP. And so
That'd be 7,000 according to Honey Badger Nation.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Because there's the three of us, so there's more actually. So yeah, you're right. It's probably closer to 7,000. That's a lot of agents that have. Well, what did they see? Right. Well, they learned that what you get when you partner with us, and there's a lot of value add on top of the EXP model. And I think people just generally don't understand that. I have no clue that even exists. And so that's probably that would be the number one thing that I see is because every person that I do talk to that joins, they discovered that in the process, right? And they're like, holy moly, I had no clue this is what it was. I had no idea. They're not joining because of rev share or because of stock or because they get it technology. They're joining us because we can help them. That's the bottom line. And so that'd be my number one. The people that I talk to, I don't talk to a lot of people that don't join, but the handful of ones that do, it seems like their belief either in EXP, their belief in our ability to help them, or their belief in their ability to do the work necessary to be successful. But it would hinge around their own beliefs and limiting beliefs that they have in their mind that are mostly probably made up or not true. And so that would be just the ones that I'm like, man, I can't believe they're not coming. Like, that's crazy. But
can I dovetail on that?
Yeah.
So when we all joined, which was only about a couple months from apart, right? And we went live. One of the things that you had started that first live was end of October, 2017, was with a principle, and it was from Ray Dalio's book of Principles. It's called Principles of radically, what was it? Being radically open-minded. And in order to actually adapt that principle of being radically open-minded, and I wasn't. In 2016, EXP was put in front of me multiple times, and I ignored it. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I invoked that principle into my actual real-life thinking that it allowed me to open up the possibility, because my honest belief was, I have an independent brokerage. Why in the world would I go and join another brokerage? Made no sense to me, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think the other thing was that you said at the beginning of that was, watch this video with an open mind, radically open mind, and don't listen to the number one liar. which was yourself. And I think that's the other, I don't know if it's a principle or not, but it's what people do is they lie to themselves to stay inside their comfort zone. The comfort zone is a place where it's comfy. You know, it's warm,
where dreams,
cozy.
Dreams go to die.
It's where dreams go to die, and they never even get off the floor. And in order to actually grow and see if what opportunities are out there, you have to step outside it. And I think that most people stay right inside that circle, and they're afraid to step out.
That's it. So not doing their research is the number one reason, and the solution to that is if you're going to do the research, you have to be on the quest to find the truth for yourself. And so, if you heard it from somebody else, doesn't mean that it's true. If you haven't done the research, be honest with yourself. You owe it to yourself. We a lot of times say it's financially irresponsible to be anywhere else. And so, if you've done the math, I've seen some interesting math done where one of the original co-founders shared an example of someone who did $15 million in production, and he ran a scenario of what that individual would have earned over time through the stock purchase equity program, the equity awards, are where they could acquire stock at a 5% with 5% of their commission, and it was. In his scenario, which this is just a scenario, it was $54,000 in additional, basically income to their, to their business that they would have received over, this example. And so he did math. You should do the math. But let's move on to number 2. What would you guys say is the number 2 reason?
Well, I don't think we're going to be moving on from the math for this one, because I think that they don't do the math is probably number 2. Or they're not true looking at it with truth, right, about the math. Like when I start talking to agents that have they don't even know what fees they're paying. They don't even have an awareness as to how much money they're actually giving the brokerage, right? They may have a split, they may know what that is, but some of them don't even know that because the brokerages have gotten tricky. And this is something interesting that I found to be the case, and it's getting worse and worse. There was a text thread going today about it, actually. Is that if you look at every other company out there today, they're all trying really hard to make it difficult for you to leave their brokerage. They're not focused on trying to make it better for you to stay. They're trying to make it difficult for you to leave. Their contracts are getting stiffer. They're trying to do things like get you into their technology, which is what we call the golden handcuffs, so that you can't get your data, and it makes it difficult for you to ever leave. And if that's the focus of every other brokerage, EXP is the exact opposite of that. You can just leave. Take your listings, take your stuff, take your data. Nobody cares because we don't want you to leave. We're going to focus on playing offense, not playing defense. And that's just something I see every other brokerage trying to do because they can't compete with the value proposition of EXP.
You're right. And there's brokerages, and I'm not going to name a brokerage that is dominant in my market and that have these stiff contract agreements that they sign agents to and maybe give them a bonus, and they do tricky little things like say, well, we're a 50-50 brokerage, but we'll give you a 60-40, but you got to sign this 2-3 year agreement. And the hook is that if they try to leave before that 3 years is up, they owe them the difference between whatever that 10% was that they said, okay, you're at a 50-50, but we're going to give you the 60-40 bonus. Right. And it goes back to the math, right? I'm actually astounded and actually saddened when I've seen some of the fees that these top teams, and I'm saying agents that are single agents or even top teams that are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in commission splits and fees on an annual basis to their agents. And, they're not walking away with any equity. They're not walking away with any opportunity. The next year, they just got to go do it back all over again. Right. And those brokerages love it. Because they're like, come on, bring it in. Yep. Let me give you a car. But make sure you put the brokerage's name on it, and that keeps people happy. Believe it or not, But I think it's the when the math is in front of you, what do you do then? What excuse do you have after you've seen the math? Are you going to continue to lie to yourself and say that the math really doesn't matter, Or are you going to make a good business decision for yourself and your family and make a choice?
If you haven't done the research, then you probably haven't done the math. If you're watching this video, you might be doing the research. You might be in that process. So we applaud you. Applaud you for taking the first step.
I'm going to get ready to not sleep for a few nights because and this is, I'm curious to see what y'all's answer to this is. So So I don't know what the average number or hours of videos that get consumed before an agent joins EXP, but I know it's a lot. Because once you unpack, this is completely different than anything that you've ever understood about a brokerage. It's nothing like what you would think. Like, they don't understand that until that happens. Then it's like, oh my gosh, if this is real, this is unbelievable. Like, this is so much better than what I had thought, right? And so then they're going through as many videos and learning and trying to figure out now, watching all these interviews and everything else. And so, what do y'all think the average amount of consumption is before someone actually joins EXP once they finally watch a video?
My guess is close to 24 hours worth of because they go on a binge. It's like a Netflix binge, and they watch one, then they watch another, then they watch another, and as long as they're watching the right content, right. And I think getting value from it, and they have little ahas, just little baby steps toward it, and like, oh, that could solve a problem in my business, and oh, that could solve a problem.
Right.
Which actually, I mean, and we don't have to make this number 3 or move on, but I think the next one is that people aren't being honest with themselves of what the problems they do have in their business. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know they're paying their brokerage too much. They don't know that there's other opportunity to actually build wealth in other ways, and they just know that if I sell more houses, I can make more money.
So I think that's a really good one. One that I think I probably run into, and I'm really struggling with 3. I feel like that I would honestly say, and this is exactly aligned with what y'all are saying, is number 1, but it's emotional. I feel like when people are emotionally attached to their broker, they don't do the math and they don't do the research, and so for me, it's when they approach their business emotionally. And not like a business. And so anytime that I deal with someone who is honestly a business person, in fact, I would say that the more business minded they are, I don't really care where their position is when I meet them, because if they're business minded, then inherently they're looking for, are open to, all of the ways to get to their goal.
And I hate to use this because people are probably going to take it the wrong way, but it's they're either ignorant. At that point, if they're business-minded and they approach it with an open mind and they don't join, they're just not smart people, right? Like, so anytime I know somebody's smart and they're open-minded and they're going to look at the opportunity and they're going to truly vet it and they have questions, I know that the end result is they're going to end up coming to EXP because it's irrefutable. You can't make it up. The math is the math. It doesn't change, and so it's just better. And so. That's what I believe. Is just you got to be. Some people just are emotional. Maybe that is it. Maybe they're just being emotional about it instead of being business minded. But smart people, get it.
It's those emotions that keep them inside their comfort zone. And let's state one.
Well, and it's also the opposite, because I feel like a lot of the people who are the best at EXP, I feel like they were in a situation in their life where the timing was right. They needed something to work. There's a lot of people who made the move to EXP because of pain. And a lot of the times when there is not enough pain, then there's no reason to take a look at it. And it's the whole good is the evil of great, right? It's like their comfort. They're in they're coasting, as Glenn referred to it. And so when you're coasting, you're not going to do the math. You're not going to do the research. And you're certainly not looking to solve any problems. I think a lot of the times it's a lot easier to move somebody if they have a real problem, because they're willing to do the research, because they're looking for solutions.
Great.
Well, that's actually a reason right there, what you just said, right? But back to your other one, which was that emotional connection to the broker. I'm going to confess something, but I mean, you left your father's brokerage. I mean, this is your dad, right?
I did the math,
and you did the math, but not everyone's wired like us. But I'm going to confess something, on this video, that when I left Remax, I cried a little bit, and it wasn't because I was crying a lot, for Dave Lineker, but my broker owners were amazing. I had a personal relationship with them. They invested into me. They allowed me to open up my first office. Now I, did it all. They didn't open it for me, but they, with the blessing. And that was only about a year, 12 months after I opened up my own office, where I was like, man, I'm paying you a lot of money. And I was able to put it aside, but the emotion was still there, is what I'm saying. And to your point, Mike, that emotional connection to the broker or their manager. I know a lot of agents who are just so connected. They just have a deep personal relationship, and they're genuinely friends with their broker or manager before the business relationship. And that makes it really, really tough. I had a great emotional connection just because I was blessed to have a great broker owner. Right. I was with Remax. But the math was the math. And I would say that what kind of follows in order of that is they believe with certain brands that the reason they're doing so good is because of that brand. The reason they're killing it is because they have that balloon on their sign, or the reason they were killing it is because they have, that name behind them and they're dominant. They have a high, market share in that particular market. And if they leave, they're not going to be able to do that. That doubt's been built in, but that's the broker's job. In playing defense, these brokers, one of their tactics is to make these agents believe they need them and that you'll never survive. We won't mention a name, Mike, but you just interviewed one of the agents I sponsored in my market, and she was literally told by her manager on the way out is that you'll be back. And when someone tells you that, that's like saying you ain't gonna make it, and you're either gonna believe that or you're gonna think on your own. And I think a lot of people, they believe that, so holds them back.
Absolutely.
I just think it's just hysterical. Like I feel bad. I don't feel bad at all. I don't feel bad. I'm not going to say I do because I'm competitive. And I just know that if you were going to bet, you would not bet against us, and it's not just us. We have an amazing group. We have amazing people within our group. There's amazing people in the company, not in our group. There's amazing, awesome people everywhere at EXP. And that's really you're up, what they're up against and competing against EXP is just a massive force of good, you know what I'm saying, of people, good people trying to help people, and they're going to lose. There's no way you can win when you're trying to play defense, trying to make it hard for agents to leave, not really trying to focus on adding value and creating an environment where that is the core value, adding value to your agents. Like that's just good luck trying to compete against that. Everybody's coming. Everybody's coming. It's just going to happen.
When we talk about everybody, can we talk about one specific person and then another group? And that one specific person would be like the single individual agent, who's always out there. I do hear this. I hear them say to themselves, and it's just a self-defeating or a limiting belief, is that, EXP's, that's great for some of the big guys, but, I only do, 10, 20, 30 transactions a year. I'm at 100% brokerage. I'm going to be better off where I'm at. What would you say, Mike, to somebody that has that belief?
When I speak to people that are at 100% brokerage, I just ask them, well, what do you pay? That's what I ask them. And they usually are paying something. And that's usually in their mind. Most people at 100% brokerage are paying a flat transaction fee. And so they believe they're getting 100%. And they say, I only pay $3.95 a transaction. And I say, well, that's expensive. And they say, what do you mean that's expensive? I say, well, how many homes do you plan on selling 3 years from now? Kind of walk me through your goals. And for me, my business at $3.95 at 100 transactions would have been way expensive. So
it's 40 units, right? So if your goal is ever to do more than 40 transactions, now you're paying more to be at that brokerage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It goes back to the math again, but they say it with absolute confidence, right? Yeah. Like they're like, I only paid transaction. I'm 100%. Well, how much you pay? Well, I don't pay anything. I'm 100%.
They say that all the time.
It's interesting, right? And then here's one I got the other day, and they said, well, we charge that transaction fee to the consumer. I said, well, you would be collecting that transaction fee, so you're leaving way more money on the table than you realize. And so, but yeah, that's just a little some mental trick that they just don't understand about how much they're actually paying.
Yeah. And it literally, if in most scenarios, my scenarios usually when I'm talking to somebody about EXP, I very rarely ever get into an EXP conversation where I haven't asked them a question about them. That's usually because honestly, that's just the process. And so, and so I'm asking them about, tell me about your business, what challenges you have and where are you trying to go? And they all, if they're not playing defense and they don't, if they're playing fair and they don't think something's coming, because they'll start manipulating their answers if they, if you get them into an awkward situation. and they want to, I guess. But if they're being honest, and you say, hey, most agents are going to tell you, hey, yeah, I want to sell 100 homes in 3 years, or I want to have a team in 3 years, and then you start working back, to, well, that's going to be expensive to be where you're at. And so any growth-minded agent, anybody who has any type of ambition, they start to see, okay, this is going to be expensive. And then, that's not taken in consideration when you add the icon and all those other things back into.
We're not talking about the fun stuff. We're just talking about just straight, commissions and what you're paying, what you're truly paying.
Yeah.
Just that apples to apples comparison.
Yep.
What if there was a group of people watching this video right now who's there with their team leader or broker and their agents on a team members, okay? So these are agents that they don't have a brokerage, they don't have a team, but they're actually on a team. So they're getting all the benefits of a team, such as lead generation and administrative support and coaching and whatnot. Let's talk directly to those people that are watching this right now. They're team members or they're in a brokerage. What's in it for them?
Yeah, I can talk to this. The number one thing that, the conversations that we have with agents are always geared around to what Michael just said, which is, tell me about your business. Tell me what would you like it to look like? What's your biggest rock in your shoe? Once you understand, like most people, what they need is they need more they need more deals, right? Like they don't have lead generation dialed in. They don't really know where to go. They maybe spent a bunch of money on Zillow or Realtor.com or a bunch of other things that didn't work for them. And so they don't know how to truly invest a few dollars and get a transaction out of it. And that's the biggest number one problem every individual agent has. But going back to the team agent or someone on a team, I always ask that person, where did your last 10 deals come from? What percentage of your business was generated by you versus what was generated by the broker? Because the biggest mistake an agent on a team could make is if they've never lead generated and they've never managed their own transactions and they've never had had to do the dollar per hour stuff that's off their plate because there is a team, then it's a big shock having to do all of those things leaving a team. But if you did 50% of the business yourself and 50% was provided by the team, the difference in split for most teams, you probably are better off. You're probably better off at EXP because the technology's provided and we can help you with lead gen. And so, it just kind of depends on the situation. But like, truthfully, some agents on teams should they better know, don't lie to yourself, right? Like I see it happen all the time. We had teams, we know what it looks like when they come in and they're like, hey, I want to talk to you about split. And I'll pull up the data and see how many deals came from us and how many deals came from deals they brought in themselves. And it was always like 90%, right, Mike? Like every time we would pull that number, it's like 90% of the business is generated by us as a team leader. It's like, what are they doing? Like, do they have no friends? But it's usually because they haven't been in the business very long, right? And so, there's not much of a sphere. There's not much repeater referral, that kind of stuff. But yeah, get clear and be honest with yourself about where that business actually came from, and don't underestimate what it's going to take to replace that effort and money. But if you are getting a lot of business on your own, then you're probably already thinking about this, right?
Sure.
I think that's a fair statement, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, a story that I can just share real quick that speaks to those people is, I have a team in Cleveland, Ohio, Stacey Group. I kept my team when I joined. My agents all came with, and we've quadrupled actually in size and number of agents. And the really cool thing is the few agents that came over with us in 2017, which was about as of the date of this recording was about 3.5 years ago. They're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock in EXP, and they would not have had that had they stayed with my independent brokerage. Now they stayed within our team because they liked all the services. They loved the coaching, the administrative support. They loved the lead generation, and they didn't want that to go away. So the agents that are watching this right now that are on a team that like their current situation, that's great. We can help, show you how to make that transition, keep that team unit together so that you continue to get all that support that you need to grow your business. But the stock's a game changer. Mm-hmm. The gentleman I'm talking about, his name's Dan. He's about 60 years old. He's been in the business for a long time, about 30 years, and his end game is rental properties, and he has a couple, and they're almost paid off, and that's going to be great. But he's actually he's actually earned more had these properties for probably 20 years, and they're almost paid off, not quite. he actually has more in EXPI stock value than those properties are worth right now in 3.5 years. That's really, really, huge. It's, and we don't throw this term around, but it's life-changing. That right there is life-changing. And that's an agent that's on my team, that's on a split, that loves the leads and loves the administrative support and loves the culture that we provide, in our area of Northeast Ohio. And not only did it not get disrupted, nothing changed with it. It just got better. Yeah. And we were able to get
How many agents did you grow? Yeah. From a team leader perspective, you grew your team, and the challenge and the problem that we all have is with teams is we know at our best agents, it's recruiting and retention of talent. You lose your best people over time. And have you been able to keep your agents since you made that switch? And how easy was it to grow the team?
Yeah, and I mean, in full transparency, we haven't kept all of them, but no brokerage is ever going to have a 100% retention rate. But our retention rate is extremely high. The people we lose, we're usually happy to lose them, usually. But the top agents, they don't leave EXP. Right. Now, they may want to leave the team. I was literally just on a call with one of my agents who left a couple years ago for personal reasons. She's ready to hop back in. She didn't leave EXP. Why? Because she's sitting on a boatload of stock, and she ain't going anywhere because she's seeing that. She's seeing the company go from when we joined 4,000 agents. I don't know if I was 4,000 agent, 4,001 or what. By the time you guys, it was at 5,000. Yeah. And as of the recording today, we're just over 50,000 agents with the company. As we grow in agent count because of the scalability of this model and the ability to make hires without growing the brick and mortar, the company's just gotten more and more profitable over time. And as profitability goes up, Wall Street likes it, and the stock has shown that, And so it's just one of those things when we don't like to throw life changing around. But I would not have been able to change Dan's life like that and his family's if we would have stayed Stasic Real Estate Experts. Now Stasic Group, powered by EXP.
Like it. Heck yeah, man. That's good stuff. And so do you see ever any ego playing into people's decisions?
Ego is definitely, ego goes along with not being open-minded too, a little bit, But there's certain, there's certain attachment people have to their, and some of it's just unfounded, right? Like, I built this. For some reason, there's been a handful of conversations, and these are some of the bigger ones actually, that maybe don't join, and they believe they've built something, which is valid. You did build something. Now, what is that worth? It maybe is a different story. And like when we started doing the research, and we reached out to Real Trends and Steve Murray and looked at the valuations of and we look at the actual offers and deals that are put together, the reality was, if we continue to build our own brokerage in our own way, that it's worth maybe 1.5 to 2 times EBITDA. They're going to ask us to stay on for 2 years, and then there's going to be a clawback based upon your retention of agents after you're out. And so you're getting bought with your own money. And so like once I knew that truth, it was impossible for me to think that my ego started to get a little smaller and get out of the way. Right? It's like, what am I really building? I'm not building anything that's going to really have any really tremendous value to exit. And so why would I spend the next 10 years doing that if I could do it at EXP and create much more wealth while I'm doing it? And so, but that I run into the ego a lot, and they think that they're giving up on their passion and their dream, or they think that they're giving up on that brand that they built. And it's not. You get to keep your brand. This is just a platform. Like, they got to get their head around understanding you're not giving up anything. You're just adding to, right? Like, it's a big mistake I think people think as they're looking at it, is that this is, you keep your LLC, you keep your company, you keep your brand to the extent you want to, and to the extent the law will allow in your state. But that's it's just going to enhance everything that you're already doing in most cases, depending on the model. But that ego definitely can get in the way. That's for sure.
With the ego thing, we're talking about a lot of the times people they have a vision, and it's almost like when they used to say in building software, once the first line of code's written, the programmer's emotionally tied to the project versus looking at all the ways to get to the goal. And so there was another one that when you were just saying that, it's people when they come to EXP and they have a real estate brokerage, and they feel like they're giving up on that brokerage, right? And the people, but I think on the same token, the people that come over because they care about their people at their brokerage. So it's like one of those things that it's like, do you really care about your people? Yeah, you say you do, but I mean, doesn't this seem like this would be better for the agent? So it's kind of like on one hand, it's a concern, but on the same token, it's one of the reasons so many people come over.
I'm not going to lie. I had that feeling, I mean, when you guys, we were going to partner together, right?
Right.
That was the goal. That was the plan anyway. And we went down that road for at least 18 months. And you helped me open I left Remax, opened my own brokerage, and I thought that was it. And I didn't want to believe that there was something else out there because that meant I had to change. And I was one of the thoughts, and luckily I was able to, expel this thought quickly, was that, well, I just built this brokerage. I just opened it. I got my broker's license. I opened, this is my baby. And what am I going to do now? Just throw it to the side. Mm-hmm. And so I've felt that feeling. And I think that the way that you can overcome that, because ultimately it's BS, right. It's not true, is to understand what Jay said earlier, which is that this is a platform to grow that brokerage off. It's just going to, when you partner with us, we're going to help you win bigger and faster. Mm-hmm. And you, I think your quote was, we don't help people become winners. We can help winners win bigger and faster. Mm-hmm. And I believe that a lot of the brokers out there are entrepreneurs. The reason they opened a brokerage was because they wanted to scale and they wanted to leverage and get more leverage in their business and get time back. And this model can help you get your time back faster.
I think it's important for people to understand the objections change for people as time goes by. So what I mean by that is, and also as the company grows. So one of the things when we first started on, you all know, like the virtual thing, the virtual office was like a big concern. Obviously, it's not a big concern anymore.
It never comes up.
Right, never comes up. So it's like, okay, this big, huge thing that was a concern is no longer a concern. Should it have really been a concern in the first place? And I think so. As what I'm pointing out here is people are going to find reasons, and I feel like the new one that people are going to have is going to be that it's too late. I think that's where once people do come around. I texted a good friend of mine who ended up just making the move, but I was out of good faith. I literally was saying, "Who's the one person I wish I would have?" I said it to myself. I'll tell you how I said it. Who did I do an injustice to not pushing harder on? And I thought of two people, so I sent them both the text. One of those individuals have already come over, and but his first reply was, "Man, I wish I could, man, but I think it's too late." Don't y'all kind of see that being a problem here in the future as we continue to grow?
Yeah, but it's and let me explain why it's not true, right? And so, like, there's some things that are obvious, and this will be one of those things that's obvious. So the opportunity for us the last 3.5 years that we've been at EXP was the 50,000, up to this point was the 50,000 agents that joined. So that was as big as the opportunity was. There's 50,000 agents that joined. Some of them joined under us. A lot of them didn't. The opportunity the next 3 years, just in the U.S. and Canada, are projecting 150,000 agents is what the projection is. That's 3 times bigger opportunity than what it was the last 3 years. So literally, they have to join and name someone as a sponsor. It might as well be under you. You don't need a whole lot of people in order for this to be a very lucrative thing. I mean, those are facts, right? So, and I'm not even talking about international. And you think, well, I don't have any inroads into international, or maybe if you're watching this and you do, then international is just starting. Like, we're literally opening countries, and we're on the ground floor in all of them, right? Almost just about, other than Canada, probably considered ground floor everywhere else just about, in terms of really taking off. And so I don't even know the numbers. I haven't done the math yet, but it's big. And what's happening that I didn't know was going to happen necessarily. You kind of hope that you have a friend that knows someone in Portugal, but I've got someone that I sponsored personally in Portugal, and he put me on a call with a 700 office brokerage. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're interested, and we're doing the math, right? And so, like, those things are happening. I had no dreams, aspirations of ever going into Portugal, ever would I've ever thought, right? But those are opportunities that exist, and you can't tap into those if you're not here. So, well,
I do think you bring up a good point, and that's a great. I talked to someone today who had 100 agents in India, and good for him. And we have a person in our second line in India. But that brings up, I think, maybe the final point. And I'm going to say that this is going to be And guys, listen, if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be notified when other videos like this drop. But I think that another thing is people think it's all about recruiting.
It certainly is something that, again, if they had done the research, they would know that that's not the case, right? So going back to the whole number one thing, which is do the research, I think that's when you get clear, and if you're doing that while you're open-minded, you're going to see it a lot differently.
Can we tell the story of the person who texts us on the first of every single month who came and joined us and said, "Hey guys, I'm joining because it's a better split, but I'm not a recruiter. I'm not into the whole rev share and recruiting thing." You know what I'm talking about, right?
Lots of people to tell me that, but yeah.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know
right?
you're about. Yeah.
If we were getting recruited to the Chicago Bears, or if we were getting recruited to, Harvard. Recruiting is a good word. That means, if you were getting recruited somewhere, only in real estate do we tie a negative connotation to somebody recruiting you. That's just a fact.
Right.
And so recruiting you means somebody sees something in you and there's an opportunity and they want you. And there's nothing wrong with people wanting you. The only person who is going to have a problem with that is your broker. And so the truth is the negative narrative painted around recruiting is probably been planted in your mind, and you should ask yourself, well, is it really bad if people want to offer me something that might be better for me? I mean, I think that's not a bad thing. So that's number one. Number two on the recruiting side is, any company that's growing fast has to hire people, and we just happen to hire people to sell real estate. And so, it's not like, when we go into Portugal or India, we need agents. We have a platform. We have overhead and cost and things that happen. And so the thing that we do is we make offers to people, hopefully, that are going to incentivize them to want to come work here versus where they are. And the only way we can incentivize them is to make them a damn good offer, or it'd be really a waste of everybody's time. So recruiting is somebody trying to make you an offer, and hopefully it's compelling enough and you're willing to listen to it and look at it and do the research and do the math to know. Now, you might not look at the offer. You might not listen to the offer. You might shun them off, and then that's a personal thing. But from a recruiting standpoint is, yes, we are the fastest growing company. So yes, that does require some recruiting, both on the internal executive side. We have to recruit people in marketing, programmers. You have to recruit all different kinds of people. That's what fast growing companies do. But on the second hand, as far as recruiting is, we're recruiting people to sell real estate, and there's a compensation that incentivizes people to do that. And I know that, and this is just the truth, I can name from my wife to my banker growing up who gave me my first loan on my first lawnmower, to my next door neighbor who lived behind me, to my wife's aunt and uncle, to friends that I like. You, I mean, did you recruit me into real estate? Right? Like in theory, right? So like thank you. Right. Thank you. Right. But if you would have actually went an extra step and directed me to a good brokerage, now that's a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing that I went from having a certain occupation that had its own bad, we all know what we did before real estate. And if you've done good at real estate, then this is probably better than what you did before. And if somebody recruited you to real estate, it's not bad. And I think the next step of getting into the industry is you have to find a broker. And the unfortunate fact is not all brokers are the same. And some of the times when you pick a brokerage, you might pick the wrong one, and especially if you didn't do your homework. And so I think from a recruiting standpoint is I think the answer is, the difference is the approach that people use when they recruit. Yeah. And that's what I think maybe someone would have a negative approach. I don't think that, the people that are doing it at a high level for us certainly is, the extent of my last week was me getting on the phone with people that had questions for me, right? It wasn't me getting a list of phone numbers and names and calling people that had no idea that I was going to call them, right? It was more of somebody was out there struggling with their big decision for their business, and they needed somebody to talk to help them. And so for me, recruiting is really helping agents, which is what we've been doing in the first place. And EXP just incentivized us, to continue to do that, and created that opportunity for everybody, right?
100%. That's well said. The way, if this is the part that nobody gets, and it's the hardest to explain, and I hate to use the word because it does no justice to what it is, but it's collaboration. And it's when you join a company where there's great collaboration and lots of people that can actually help you with that problem, there's never a problem anymore. You can solve every problem because of the people that you're around, and there's a financial alignment. And what we say all the time is yeah, sure, agent attraction recruiting is an opportunity for us, but it's also their success is our responsibility, right? And so it's not until you get on the inside that you recognize, well, they're gonna help me with everything. Like literally, that I heard it 3 times today already on the 3 calls that I had. They're like, "Thank you so much for taking your time today with me," right? Like, but that's what you get at scale with everyone in the company is helping. Why? Because we all have stock. The stock does better. We all do better. We all have revenue share lines and people that are I don't know who's in there's 7,000. I don't know who all is and isn't. We help everybody, right? Like that. But that's the magic, right, behind all of it. When you understand that there's going to be people to help you and help you with your business, and you're not going to have to compensate those people the way you had to in the past. That's where all the value is that people don't get to see and can't really see until you're actually in the company.
Yeah, well said.
I'll just try to wrap up with a quick story, and that was when I was needing to leave my independent brokerage back in 2006 and 2007 and joined RE/MAX. I left the brokerage. There was probably about 20 agents. It was a small and independent brokerage. And I started my team from scratch, really at RE/MAX. And I was excited about it. And like I said earlier, it was loved my broker owner. Everything was cool. And what happened was I started getting phone calls from the agents from my brokerage that I had left. And they said, "Al, how do you like it over there at RE/MAX?" And I said, "I love it. You kidding me? It's great. Come meet the broker owner." I did that 6 times. Every single time I did that and made that introduction, I got a $25 Starbucks gift card. And I was super excited about it because I loved caffeine. So it was great. The problem was after about 6-7 weeks, I blew through all of those cards. And the broker owner collected residual income every time those agents, did a sale. I didn't get any of the upside from that. And I helped them grow their business. And I didn't have any ownership in that business, by the way, as a side note. So going back to Michael's point about, I have to be a recruiter. I was not a recruiter for RE/MAX. I had no skin in that game. I didn't have any ownership, no stock in the company, nothing. Yet I recruited 6 productive real estate agents to that brokerage, or referred them, I should say. And I think that's something you think about if you're somebody that's at a brokerage right now. And I think Gove said it best, is that real estate agents actually know people and are friends with other real estate agents. Shocker, right?
Right.
And when you're someone of integrity and you're someone that is someone that just does a good business, you're a likable, nice person, and you have relationships, and they're going to ask a question if you were to make a move over. And that question is, why did you do that? And I think we covered a lot of the reasons why they would do that. But I just wanted to share that as a story because I frowned on the whole recruiting word too. And it was always because of how I was approached with it. So.
Absolutely, man. Well, this was, I think, hopefully, if you're out there and you're doing your research and you're sitting down and doing your math and you had any type of questions about making the move to EXP, hopefully this video helped you at least change your perspective, give you a different way of thinking about it. That was our only goal, is to add value to you. So hopefully this was valuable. And if you did like this video, make sure you hit the like button. Again, subscribe, turn on notifications. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. You can reach Jay. Usually, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Jay?
You can go to jkinder.com, and there's several videos there, a way to get into my calendar. If you wanted to schedule a time to have a conversation, you can do that too.
Albie?
Yeah, just go to alstasek.com. That's ALSTASEK.com, and you'll be able to find my calendar as well.
Absolutely. And you can give me a call or send me a text. My number is 972-672-6271. All 3 of us are here to help answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions, reach out to one of us. With that being said, we'll either see you at the top
or from the top.